What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, the official Cliffy J, and I'm back with another video. And today I'm gonna be ranking every player of BB25 based on their gameplay on the season. And I just want to go ahead and get this one out the way. I did BB26 yesterday. I'm gonna go ahead and get this one done. Not gonna waste any time. You guys already know the criteria. It's based on their social game on the season, physical ability, strategic game, and on paper how their game played. And as I want to reiterate that I'm prioritizing all of these things rather than if I was ranking them based on them as a player, I would really lean more towards their social ability, then lean towards their agency, like their strategy, and with this, I'm leaning more towards agency and on paper. That's more what it's about when I'm doing player rankings, about agency, like how much control that you have, and on paper, how many challenges did you win, things like that. Rather than when I'm ranking them based on them as players, I'm looking at their actual ability, like how good socially are they? How good in challenges are they? How good are they, at creating strategies and things like that? So let's go ahead and get into this list, starting at number 16. And number 16 is pretty easy for me. I got Luke. The guy couldn't even follow the rules. And if you can't even follow the rules, I can't put you anywhere near the top. And bro went home mad early because of his own actions. So I can't really put him anywhere higher than this. Bro was the first boot and he got himself booted based off not being like, yeah, he's obviously the worst. And at number 15, I've got Kirsten. And she was the real first boot, technically. And she completely ruined any chance she had of surviving the block. And she lost that initial challenge to get on the block. So it's not like it was someone else's fault. She was holding on way too hard to the Felix 5 alliance that just clearly wasn't real. I don't know why she wasn't able to read the room. Then she was just making up a bunch of different narratives where some were kind of accurate, but some where she was just throwing it out there, different strategies with players like America and Blue and stuff like that. And it just, I don't know really, and Mimi and and Jared, like it was just like, I don't know. She was just saying stuff, bro. And that wasn't really great for her. It wasn't really great for her game. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's not really much good I could say about Kirsten's ability on based off what she did. And at number 14, I got Red. Just like he was basically like Cam's like linchpin almost. Like, I don't know. He kind of just rolled it out with that alliance that they had with Suri until they had kind of flipped them on each other and they still didn't have a great gauge on what was going on. And he really just like when he won one veto, he didn't really do anything on the season and he kind of got cooked pretty early. So it's like, and even early in the game, he wasn't even actually aligned with Cam. Cam was aligned with, the younger people. And he kind of had to fall in with the older people anyway, and he never was really as insulated as he should have been. And at number 13, I've got Heisem, and he obviously could have been a little higher, but it's not much good to pull from Heisem's game. Bro really just did way too much, pushing the oldies alliance and loyalty. And then when he wins HOH, completely strongs arm it. And it's like, this is your HOH. You can do what you want. But he did. And it was the best decisions to make. But he did low key strong arm it. And he had two he was like too boisterous about who he was targeting and why he was targeting them and stuff. And it's like, all right, bro, chill out. It's like a lot of stuff he was doing was based off like ethnicity and race. Like he's targeting Riley because she's a white girl, low key. And then he once like made like a race based alliance, like or like ethnic based, Asian based alliance with Blue and Jag, which also kind of made him look a little fugazi. Two players like Blue and Jag. It's like, we could tell you working on that side, but you want to kind of make this little alliance with us while you're putting up our people, you know what I'm saying, putting up Cam and Riley, like, nah, it don't really make sense. So he was kind of all over the place. Not really that much grade I can get, but he was really good in challenges. So I'm gonna have him over the other people. And at number 12, I got Riley. She was the second boot, but she legit set herself up really well. And if it wasn't for Sari being there, I think her early HOH probably would have been like a pretty decent success. And she would have probably been a pretty big power player. I do think Corey always probably attempts to stage some type of coup against that handful of lines. I don't necessarily know if Jared does, because I know he would have been really close to Blue. he had a good relationship at early with like Matt and Riley. So I do think that it is possibility that the game is played differently if Sari isn't there. But Sari was there. She got cooked nice and early, and she also was someone that believed that she could at least trust Sari. And we know how that usually works out for players. And at number 11, I got Cam, and I'll give him that. He had some decent logic for the most part. He was just one of the biggest victims of the Sari misting. And I'm not gonna down him too much for that, because he did have the handful. He was close to players like Riley. He was like in the alliance, but even they, after Riley was gone, were kind of just kicking the dude to the curb. And that that does matter. Bro didn't really have as close of alliance as he thought he did. And I do understand, like, him targeting Sari, even though it was very clear Jared was like, "Bruh, stop targeting Sari and we can make this happen." Like, that's the logical thing to also do. And I kind of blame Jared more for why they both end up getting sent home rather than blaming Cam, obviously, because Jared put him on the block and sent him home. So kind of like, it's not much. It, his game is like one where it's like he won a bunch of comps, so I gotta have him in a certain area, and even him being sent home, it was like everybody was against him, and it wasn't the logical thing to do. It wasn't, like, logical to be all against him, so obviously, him being sent home, I can't have him too high, but I will have him here at number 11 because his game wasn't as bad as it seems on paper. On top of the fact that players should have worked with him over working with Jag and Matt, at least to some capacity, because he was one player versus that's two that are also very good at comps. Like, nah, that was not the right. And then they also had Bowie. So yeah, you kind of cooked. And at number 10, I got America. Not as much negative coming with America in comparison to the others, but she wasn't really great at maintaining alliance. She seemed kind of bougie or something. Like maybe she was like stuck up or she just really didn't like anybody on the cast, which, that's fair. Um, and it did reflect in how people like Izzy and Jared felt about her. And she wasn't anywhere near as active with people like Sari, Mimi, Blue, who were very open to working with her, and then and they were obviously very willing to work with her. Like that was definitely a part of their strategy in some capacity, working with the girls and stuff. But I will give her the fact that she did make it pretty far in the game, and she had a few allies that helped her get far. And Corey was head over heels, especially after she was grinding on him. And all right, we ain't gonna go into that. The next. And at number 9, I got Izzy. She came out the gate hot, having Sari and Jared basically as like a built-in alliance. She got close to like Corey, Felicia, Mimi, and her positioning was honestly pretty impressive. And that's mainly what's impressive about her game. She was extremely emotional, and I do think that affected her thoughts at point. Her reactions to a lot of things, her beef with Cam was very emotional. The way that she talked to Corey about America was very emotional. But she also had times where she played really well and was definitely setting up, herself to be in a good position had she been able to get, her, Jared, Sari, Felicia, Mimi, Corey, pretty deep in blue, like pretty deep in the game. She definitely could have made something happen, possibly, flipped on Jared and Sari, or flipped on Jared or Sari, and then got to the end with the other. However, she was planning on doing that. She honestly probably could have made that happen if she wasn't such a big mouth, bruh, and getting all on that with Corey about America. Like you should have just kept your mouth shut. Let Corey have America over there in the corner, and you target everybody else. That would have been smarter for Izzy's game, and kind of ride it out with Corey in America. That would have been a lot smarter, having them kind of on side. And at number 8, I got the other Fields twin, I guess you would say. I got Jared. The only reason I have him higher is because he was a part of like more aligned, closer to the people they were aligned to. That's really it. Their games are pretty similar. Jared also won more challenges, made it further in the game. So I'll obviously give him the leg up for mainly those reasons, but all the negatives that apply with her essentially apply with him, but I guess in a different way. He was too much of a big mouth towards Blue and towards Corey, which, that kind of is accurate for her too to a certain extent. And at number 8, I think this is actually number 8. I don't know. I got Mimi. Her game is similar to like a Rubino, where it's kind of non-existent, but I think she also was afforded less players that were like really giving her the good information and things like that. Like Rubina was insulated in essentially the power alliance at points, right? And she ain't do nothing with it. Mimi sometimes tried to kind of like she didn't really try to do anything, but she had a solid social game, and I just think she had less tools to enact a solid social game. And I also think the gameplay levels are actually lower, person by person, on this cast. Whereas like the overall level of gameplay in terms of the top players on here supersedes 26, but like the overall level of players, I would say is higher on 26. Like, yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. Mimi, I guess, a perfect example of that. She probably would have been at the bottom. And then number 7, I got another person that didn't really do nothing. She didn't do much. I got Bowie. Her social game definitely wasn't great with most of the women. They never really trusted her. They never really liked her. And Cam would have been a much better ally, in my opinion, for her than Matt and Jag. And she still chose to ride with those people that she had just gotten aligned with that were younger and that always would have chose each other over her. But Barry Jane, I mean, I don't know, Barry, like that stuff was just pissing me off, dog. Like she's not a good player, but she had good comp wins. And it's kind of like MJ where and it's worse than MJ. It's definitely worse than MJ. She was aligned with these power players that were kind of loyal to her. So, it made sense why she was riding it theoretically. And at number 6, I got Blue. Her biggest mistake was not trusting Jared more because Jag always had a little issue with Jared because Jared wasn't the best player in terms of the way that he carried his relationship with Jag. Like he to me, from Jag's perspective, I never would have trusted Jared because Jared made it very obvious that you did not trust him. Sending him to the Netherland, whatever it's called, that first week, knowing they needed the numbers. Also, when Sari gives Jared information, you run it back to Jag in like a really weird way, making Sari look untrustworthy and things like that. So Jag never really trusted Jared. So I do think it would have actually been in Blue's best interest to protect Jared more and to make Jared look better. So then either she could maintain the relationship with both or she could ride with the one that would have been more loyal to her, which would have been Jared. Full stop. I genuinely believe that Jag never intended on taking her nowhere, especially when she got close to Jared. Like, can't even say what I want to say, but yeah. And at number 5, I got Felicia. I'm guessing I'm gonna give her credit for being in so many alliances. Her and Sari were like optically the duo of the game early in the game. And it kind of looked like they were kind of like running the show, like at least from her perspective. I know she thought she was really running the show, and to a certain extent they were the ones because Sari was running the show for sure. And she was aligned with, Cam, Bowie, Red, and also had Brown Sugar Babies. She was also in that alliance to the other side of the house. So, and I also think she did a good job at surviving, like she survived pretty long. And I just wish her and Mimi would have patched up the relationship with Jared and Sri rather than voting Jared out. Because that would have probably been smarter for their game to vote Blue out at that point. But, it is what it is. And at number 4, I got the winner of the season in Jag. I think this is actually a rather generous ranking. He got sent home 4th unanimously. But he got saved by Matt and was still kind of missed it by Suri and Felicia for a huge part of the game, which is why he was so salty towards them and so anti them, at least in the way he talked about them and never really worked with them for real for the rest of the game. But as soon as Corey flipped and gave him the information he needed, he played the game exactly how I guess he really should have. He never had a great social game outside of like Bowie and Matt and like Riley, like most of the young blue, like most of the younger people other than Bowie, because Bowie was going through a midlife crisis and just wanted to jump the younger guy's bones. That's just really what it seemed like. But yeah, I think he played accordingly. He won mad comps, and that matters. And he was able to not change the narrative, but make sure that people believed he was the one that was really making the moves, had the most agency and things like that. So that worked out for him pretty well. And he bathed in their blood, or whatever he said at the end. He bathed in their blood. And at number 3, I got Corey Booger Finger Wharton. No, not Wharton. It's not. Why did I say Wharton still? Damn it. I've been too much challenge, bro. It's too much challenge. I'm not cutting that out, bro. I'm not cutting that out. Cause I was trying to roast Corey and I just roasted Corey Wharton on accident. But yeah, nah. Booger mouth little boy. We got Corey. I don't dislike Corey. It's just funny to call him Booger Mouth. Like you were eating your boogers, little brother. Like, come on, damn it. And he's older than me. But yeah, nah, Corey and the other 2 I have are definitely the top 3. I think they played the most optically based on what they knew. Corey and Jarrett were like the rats against Riley's alliance, and he got really close to Jarrett, Izzy, and Sari at a show Mess with America, and he kind of rolled that out, kind of going with the flow until Izzy and Jarrett pushed way too hard against America, was talking crazy and all that. And then he also knew Jarrett had that all black alliance, so he was like, you know what I'm saying? Let's flip, get Izzy out. And I do think realistically, he shouldn't have put so much faith into Matt and Jag, like staying loyal and stuff like that. But I also kind of get why he made the move he did, because he felt like he couldn't trust Izzy. Then he felt like he couldn't trust Jared or Cam, even though realistically, it would have been smarter to ride with Jared or Cam, because that's one person that's great at challenges that you would have to beat rather than two. And especially someone like Jared, who wasn't elite at the challenges, would have been a lot smarter for him to ride that way. But America was in his head, bro. I believe that. America was in his head. He was playing for the Punani. And at number 2, I've got Sari Fields. Another impressive performance for Sari on TV. You can discredit her if you want to bring up Jared and Izzy being built-in allies, but strategically, she had to carry them and clean up messes for them. And she was also basically adored by the cast because of her social ability and her likability and her aura. You know what I'm saying? Her relationship with Matt and Jag were actually a really good example of that, because her and Matt were very close and Jag trusted her aside from the stuff that Jared was doing and Izzy and things like that. And before the Corey flip, I would say that, her game was extremely impressive. And she also was the catalyst to turning Cam and Bowie against Red and stuff like that. So, or was it Cam and Red against Bowie? Something like, no, it was something like that. But she was the catalyst to things like that. Like, she was the player of the season in terms of just like what made it entertaining. So I will give her credit for that also. Well, we already know. So we all know what Sari did, man. I ain't gotta say too much else. Y'all know what Sari did. And it ain't really too much that Sari didn't do. It wasn't really too much that Sari did that was negative. It was more of she was aligned with players that weren't that great. And at number 1, I got Matt. Matt made it to the final 2, saved Jag. He was never in danger. He was aligned with all the power players. He usually had their trust until he got them out. He won key competitions to get rid of other compies like Cam and Jared. He just wasn't aggressive enough, maybe, in describing his game, nor the way he played the game in the last stretch was he aggressive enough. I don't think he had to take the shot at Jag to win. He just would have to, make it more clear that he was the one like in control that had more agency, and he just wasn't able to do that, which, you gotta credit Jag and you gotta discredit him, and that's really what that comes down to. But he was the best player of the season in terms of the overall gameplay. He never was really in danger, as I said. So I gotta have him at number 1. And that is the end of today's video, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Push the notification bell so you can be notified every time I drop a new lit banger. Peace.